Welcome to the final episode of our Phoenix Dawn Command series, everyone. We had a lot of fun with this game, and we get into some really great discussion this episode, as well as some fantastic fanfic. So, to get you there sooner, let's just dive into our announcements. Just a couple quick announcements, actually, it looks like. First up, you can still get a copy of the latest version of Chimera over on the itch page at play.chimera.games. This game has always been an unforgettable experience every time I've tried it out, and it just keeps getting better. Creating a world together, and one that can be as weird as you want it to be, is just such a joy. And then seeing what unique characters and stories you can come up with as a group, it's a remarkable experience. So check it out at play.chimera.games and check out one of the two actual play streams at twitch.chimera.games or capeandblade.chimera.games to see how it plays. A new version is right around the corner, so it's a great time to hop on board and be ready for when that drops. The other announcement I have is that the latest Losers a Love Story dropped on Saturday on the Horror Borealis podcast feed. It was the penultimate episode, which means there's only one more episode left in this mini-series retelling of Stephen King's It, through playing Monster of the Week supplement Back to Dairy by Christine Previs. We've all put a lot into the show, and I am really happy to be able to present it to everyone. Content warnings galore, though. It is not a show for minors or the faint of heart, as it gets a bit creepy, being a horror story after all. I don't think there's anything else to announce right now, so let's sit back, relax, and listen to this discussion episode with guest Neal Powell. Enjoy. Welcome back to our discussion episode. Last time we created our characters for Phoenix Dawn Command. This episode we will be discussing the character creation process. We are very thrilled to welcome back Neal Powell, co-host of DMNastics and Whelmed, the Unjustice Files. Neal, do you want to go ahead and reintroduce yourself again for everyone at home? And tell us a little bit about the character you made in our last episode.
Certainly. It's still me. It's still Neal. And like was mentioned, if you head over to your podcatcher of choice, which we've established is a real person out there with a net catching pods and bringing them back to my phone, you can find me on DMNastics, Whelmed, or Dungeon Master's blog. And for everything else, I'm on Twitter at Jotmaniac, Jack of all trades, master of none. And last week, I created Canis, a bitter phoenix who basically was a young boy and died a death they didn't want because their life was cut short. It made them bitter. It made them angry. And after hundreds of years of battling in the crucible, to finally step forth recently into this wing, which we have named No Second Chances, which I have no idea how that would come out and play. But I took traits such as Reckless. Basically, if someone attacks me, I will attack them, and then not be able to defend it. Barbarian, Feral, Thrill Seeker, and Infamous. And Infamous is my favorite because basically I present still as a young boy, but that young boy that was the troublemaker, and everyone that sees me kind of sees that when they look at me, until they see the giant axe that is taller than I am. So that'll probably make them second guess or just be really scared. One of the two, but that is Canis. I think that about covered it.
Yeah.
Ryan, do you want to tell us about your completely surprising, totally unlike you at all character?
I don't know what you're talking about. So I created a devoted, that's my Phoenix school, named Adora. which goes along with the character who is very self-sacrificing and inspiring. Adora used to be a noble shaman for a village, and at the time he had sacrificed himself in order to save the rest of his village. And since then, she has come back as a devoted protector of everyone. I've got traits such as noble, shaman, inspiring, seen this before, and savior. And I think it would be really interesting because they are trying to save the world and find their spouse who they had direct the village to safety while they stayed back to perish to give them time. Fun stuff. Amelia, what about your character?
I picked the Shrouded School. My character's name is Lilith. She was someone with some kind of power. I don't think we really established what. Who actually knew that the dread was pretty bad and maybe didn't tell anybody. And now has to deal with that. But definitely doesn't want anybody to know that she could have stopped this, or could have at least mitigated some of it. She is, let's see, what did I take here for some of these talents? I took Hidden Secrets, and I have Psychometry, Mysterious, Brilliant Deduction, Grim Determination, and my personal favorite, Disturbing Insights, where I get to make people around me just reveal disturbing secrets.
Oh, it's so good.
It's so good. It's so good. Yeah, I'm so excited about this group of characters.
It's a nice motley crew of characters. I love it.
Yeah. I'm excited to see how No Second Chances deals with some of this stuff.
Absolutely.
Well, let's go ahead and dive right into our discussion segment that we call D20 for your thoughts.
D20 for your thoughts?
So in this segment, we talk to our guests about their thoughts on character creation in this game and games in general, how it relates to this system and their overall process. But our first question about you as a designer or person who likes to hack games, where do you feel like your best ideas come from? How do they present themselves to you?
I think that's a great question. I've already read it, so I don't know why I'm so
surprised. It's a new one for us that we've only been asking recently, and I really like it. I love hearing from people about like where ideas come from, because I certainly don't have any.
Yeah. So I think wow, it ties deep, and there's too many connections, I guess. But one of the biggest things is like my dad was always a car guy, like the penultimate car guy. And so there was always a tool for the job. And it was always one of those things where you see those garages, those workshops where you're like, there's no way that any one human would require any of these. But that's the thing, is eventually there's the right tool for the job. And so then it's also that going to that like jack of all trades, master of none mentality. My thing is always like, I just should always just be learning and just putting more tools in. And so then if I never use any of it, that I'll probably still be fine because I had it and I know why I didn't use it. So that's usually where a lot of my things come from. Like the thing I posted on Twitter yesterday was just like a smattering of what my last 24 hours looked like. And I mean, thankfully with the power of the internet. So within the past 24 hours, this is what I posted yesterday. I watched the new Mortal Kombat. I finished Birds of Prey. I started the Joker. I played some Diablo 3 seasonal hardcore. I bought and opened a pack of Vivid Voltage Pokemon cards with Kid 2, bought and read the new My Little Pony comic with Kid 1, and did more. So that's really my personal approach, is that there's something to gain from everything. And so just put it all in there and see what comes out the other side.
Yeah, I remember a couple of years ago you were doing from LP to RP as well, which was really interesting.
Yep. So then, taking album covers and making 5th edition content out of those, because like those, I mean, if art's worth 1,000, if a piece of art is worth 1,000 words, those 1,000 words could certainly be RPG stuff.
Absolutely.
Right. I really like that point though, of like, even if I don't use it, I know why I didn't use it. And I appreciate the idea that like none of that is wasted, right? That like even the time that you spent reading the My Little Pony comic is like worth something. And I think that is something that I personally would like to grow to appreciate more. That those times spent on things that are, you know, superfluous or, you know, whatever our capitalist society wants to call them, that they do have value. And even if we don't go on to like put them into something, we still, you know, at least learned what we don't want or whatever, that they still have some kind of value.
Well, even like having a person at your table where it's like their like, I don't know, their Jim Jam is totally My Little Pony.
Right.
But then you even just having like that individual comic as a reference point of even just being able to better connect with that other person. Then there it was. That's what it was for. I mean, and maybe that never comes up, but maybe it does. And then that not indoctrine, but like connects you with that person more than you would have ever been able to without it.
So you're telling me that knowing that much about unicorns and Pokemon and Mario and all of these things hopefully will come up at some...
Are you in my house? Because it sounds like you're also in my house.
If I hear another word about Let's Go Eevee, I'm gonna scream.
Yeah, we were doing Sword and Shield, and then we eventually jumped to Mario Kart. So.
Oh yeah, my son has been obsessed with Mario since he was like 5. He is 10 now. My daughter is reading all of the Phoebe and Her Unicorn books, which there are 13 of them so far. It's just really a lot.
My son has mastered Kirby Dream Land 3.
Oh yeah, there's audio somewhere of you explaining it as you were playing it while you're trying to record.
Yeah, he can 100% that game with secrets and all from start to finish by himself now.
Wow.
He's 5.5. It's wild.
I want to have some of that kind of like devotion that kids have to the things that they love. Like I have things that I love, but I will never love anything as much as my son loves Super Mario. Like I won't. I don't have that kind of ability to be that passionate. Like there aren't enough hours in the day or enough energy. I long for that.
We just have to get rid of capitalism first.
Maybe that's what it is. On that note.
So, another question that's fairly new. What do you look for in a system as far as character creation goes? Like what pieces need to be there for a great character creation experience for you?
I think this one does well of helping that process along. I mean, I just had a section in the book that straight up said character creation process. Sometimes it's not that. I mean, D&D is not that straightforward.
No.
It can be if you're using a tool outside of the player's handbook, but if you're just cracking open the player's handbook, it's a rough go, because you kind of get it, but you kind of don't. And so it's almost the bits just enough you need, but then there's more if you need to look at it. Whereas it's like if it's too little or it's too much, I think that really it hurts character creation when that happens. And then adding narrative elements directly into that character creation process with the right questions is helpful too, because I could walk away from a D&D character and have nothing but a character.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
No, that absolutely makes sense, because with D&D, there's such thing as creating a bad mechanically character if you don't know what you're doing. And also, the only thing you have is that what personality bonds and and whatever that last 4 things that you can roll on tables for because of your background to determine who this person really is, aside from what they can do, right?
Bonds, traits, ideals, and flaws, but nobody uses them. So yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's really interesting. Having that guide to guide you like this, do this first, and then that goes right into this next step, and then this next step. You just follow this list, and you've got your character done, and you also know about this person that you just created is absolutely fantastic to have in a game. I agree.
How do we feel like character creation in this game stacks up against other games that we've played?
First, I think it's super funny to say stacked up because we built a deck of cards. So I'm a big fan of that. But I think it does well because the other thing I also look for as kind of the permanent GM, DM, marshal, whatever term is end up being used is, does it give me easy threads to pull? I mean, this obviously did. The question, like all 3 of us commented on that in the last episode of like,
nothing bad gonna happen there.
Yeah, that'll never get yanked on. So I think that's another thing where it does really well. And then, it's fun because it's different. Like I have my character in my hand in this stack of cards, and I can kind of always see who they are to a degree, and then figuring out more of that as play goes on. So I think it does really well. And there are a lot of elements that can be pulled out. Like those are all like the questions at the end, like taking some essence of those questions and asking them at the end of any character creation process would be good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think it makes it easy for people who haven't really done a lot of character creation before, because you are just pulling cards out of a stack. You can hand somebody and say, pick 1 or 2 of these, find the ones with these symbols on them, and they can put a character together. But I think even as a seasoned role player, and certainly a very seasoned character creator, there was still plenty in here to keep me interested. And it was still really easy to build a character that I wanted to play. Even with those like limited number of choices, because it's not as wide open that way when you only have so many cards to choose from. But even doing that, Ryan and I were still able to make exactly our very much personal types of characters.
Yeah, and I see it going both ways, but like I see it as an advantage, and that that's kind of what we're mentioning here, is that the finite nature of the choices is really interesting, because you're guaranteed to, in some way or in one way, certainly create a unique character at the table. But then in theory, if you looked at the bigger umbrella of Phoenix Dawn Command campaigns or wings, like your wing will inevitably be very unique, because I can't. Again, we certainly can, because we all have our own set of cards. But if we were at a table, I can't choose the same traits you did.
Right.
It's not possible. You took the card off the table and put it into your deck, which I think is great, because even figuring out what the card itself means of, like, barbarian. Okay, so then just the absolute litany of ideas that could be, or even Ryan, the noble card. Like, is it noble at heart? Is it noble by station? Like, what does it mean?
Yeah.
So, yes.
I really liked that. I had no idea what sort of character even you could create going into this. And even halfway through the process, I didn't really know who this character was. I was like just picking stuff that sounded good to the utility of the character. And then once all the pieces were there, it just kind of all clicked into place. Like, now I'm looking at these descriptions, I'm looking at the flavor text, and these questions are being asked of me through this process. And now it's all, now I have a vision of who this person was in life and who they are coming back as in their first rebirth, which is just interesting. Because most other games, I usually would either go in with a concept, like, okay, I want to create this type of character with this sort of backstory, how do I do that in this game? Or like, I want to create like going to Dungeons and Dragons, I want to create a cleric, and then I'm going to build a backstory that fits, because I can create the cleric however I want, and it would have no impact on whatever backstory I come up with, right?
Right.
Whereas in this game, literally the choices you make are part of your backstory.
Mm-hmm. Well, and once we get into advancement, it gets even more like that.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, how does the process of character creation then reinforce the feel of Phoenix Dawn Command while setting expectations for play?
Yeah, I think every element of it, kind of like what you said from the very beginning of like, I've chosen bidder. Here are the core things you as a bidder can do. Then your very first step is choosing a permanent rank 1 thing that you can do. Now you're adding your rank 1 trait from bidder, but it's also then like, oh, okay, wait, because it's the exact question you asked, like, okay, but why does it say 1 grace at the top of my card? It's like, oh, well, because everything is going to be about pulling cards and making spreads. And so even those very first choices you're making are setting the tone of like what you're going to be doing in play, even the mechanical aspects of the traits you subsequently choose, because again, each of those are a 1 grace or 1 strength for me. Mm-hmm. But then from there, you know, everything is, I feel like, guiding you towards play in those choices you're making as part of character creation.
Yeah, I would agree with that, because I think like a lot of the cards too, like as we were picking them, you know, I'm looking at it going, okay, you know, this card counts as like in an attack spread counts as 5, or, you know, like that kind of stuff. And it's like, I'm already picking strategically what I'm going to do with this particular card that I've chosen in a game. Yeah.
And it's interesting because you could pick everything based on what it's called, right? Uh-huh. Like, I want to be inspiring. I don't care what it does. So I picked the inspiring card, right? Whereas I went through and picked based on what it does and then figured out what it said afterwards. But a lot of these are like, use it in the moment, and what about this moment tells you about your character, which is just super interesting to me. Like, not even thinking about your character's past in certain ways until the moment presents itself to use one of these cards in it.
Yeah. And like that flavor text asks that question of like, why, you know, where do you, was it the one of yours that it's like, where do you know this from, or something like that? Yeah,
seen this before. Mm-hmm. Like, where have you seen it before? You know, did you first encounter it in your first life? Did you study it in the Crucible? That sort of stuff. And asking those questions in the middle of a combat, or in the middle of a mystery, or in the middle of, you know, something epic, is a really interesting kind of like pause and character introspection that it sounds like that's going to be a big part of kind of play, is building upon your character. Mm-hmm. I like it.
Mm-hmm. So our next question that we had on here was entirely about character sheets.
And this game doesn't really have character sheets, does it?
No. Nope. There are no character sheets, which...
Just in your hand. It is your hand.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, you can't mess them up, so that's nice.
Right. But I mean, it's interesting because almost quite literally half of my hand is stuff that I'll hold on to for the entire game, right? And the other half is stuff that I'll be playing, like as if I were playing a card game or Magic the Gathering or whatever.
So then the only other thing that we would add to the deck at this point, if we were going to start play, would be 2 2s, 2 3s, 2 4s of each of your grace, and for both of you, intellect, that you would incorporate in there. So they're just raw value cards, not related to anything else. But other than that, yeah, everything exactly like you said. These are ones that you would just basically sit out. So like for me, I have the 4 core and the rank 1, and I would just basically have those set out to observe, and then the bidder acts kind of as your token for play, but the rest would be literally in and out of your hand as you play them during the game.
That's really interesting. And when we're talking about decks, each person has their own personal deck, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Which is effectively an extension of your character sheet, so to speak, in this metaphorical sort of sense, which is really interesting because then it really does turn into this like pseudo deck building sort of game.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which is
a lot of fun in practice. Like,
yeah, I can imagine.
And especially because some of those cards have, you know, the what are they called? Not talents, but traits. Yeah, because some of them have the traits on them. It's like, do I want to put that in a spread, or do I want to save it for later, or do I want to, you know, like how you put down those cards that you have in your hand too becomes really interesting.
Very cool. So, what do we think then is one of the biggest flaws of character creation in this system, and what do we think is one of the best parts?
So I think I think my answer is for both, because I think that finite nature is a plus and a minus. I mean, it does create this unique thing, but you could also certainly get into some conflict of like, well, because I could make a bidder that is fundamentally completely different from a bidder that either of you would make. But then you go, we're not going to both play bidders at the same table. The other thing is that those choices do get really nebulous, and I can see that being tough for some people to process through of just what does barbarian mean? Because even the bottom of mine says Scavi Raider, Grim-Walled Warrior, or simply trained in the wilds of your crucible. So sometimes I think that there is the finite nature coupled with the limitless nature of what your character can be. And I see that both as the best part for me, but I could also see that being really frustrating for some other people.
That makes sense. One of the parts that I liked the most about this was the trait names and flavor text defining who you were. Either before death or in the crucible. I really enjoy how it all just clicked together once I had a good selection of those cards. But yeah, I think the thing that I was a little on the fence about was that there's only so many of these, right? It did kind of feel like if you had a bunch of tables in a book and you're like, you can pick from these and that's it. You can't make up your own stuff sort of deal. It would be nice if there was a way to like create your own talents or whatever and then utilize those. But in a game about cards, that's hard to do without more cards, right?
Yeah.
So
I think there's enough there, though, that it didn't feel too much like that. I mean, maybe after you've played it like a ton. But, you know, there's still even so many different combinations of them that it would take a long time before you really got there.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's our favorite section of the show now. It's our fan fiction section. What's our story? What is the story of No Second Chances?
I think it's a story of heartbreak.
I mean, it certainly sounds that way, doesn't it? We didn't make nice stories.
No,
we didn't.
I mean, it sounds like I'll be constantly trying to chase a chance with my spouse, and we've got these secrets of yours, Amelia. And we've got this childhood ne'er-do-well.
Dennis the Menace over here. But I think it's that, like, just, because I think even the idea of the no second chances, I think all three of us are going to get us into deeper trouble. for the goals that we have. It's interesting that I'm not necessarily the only one that would do it. Like, I think we're all going to strive to go and take that next step. Is it to find the answers? Is it to fight through the answers? Is it to find your spouse? Like, all three of us we're going to die. Definitely. I mean, that's the point, but
Right.
I think all three of us are going to push the group further. Like, there's not going to be a hesitancy. And again, that goes back to the idea of the wing being called no second chances.
So what, this is probably the best portion to define this. What is the dread in our game?
Yeah. What took us all out? Because we all talked about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, is it, environmental? Is it an enemy of some sort?
And it could certainly be different aspects for the different characters, because part of it is also, like, the more I think about it, the more I think of, like, the skin changer thing. Like, I'm literally the boy who used to cry wolf. And then there were actual werewolves.
Right.
And no one believed me. And then the entire town was wiped out. And then does that look like, do I eventually lean that way or lean further away from it when I start to take on more ranks? Do I eventually become, I think, more of like the Worgen in World of Warcraft? Like, it is a werewolf person, but they look dapper as all get out because they have these amazing suits and they're eloquent and they have society and things like that. So for I think for mine, it's definitely the skin changer, appearing more as a werewolf.
That makes sense. It would be interesting if it was, something that preyed on the fears of the communities that it attacked.
Oh.
So, like, maybe your community was, wolves are the biggest issue. You don't go out after dark in the woods because there's packs of wolves out there that are hungry. And
so I live in LA. Go on.
Yeah.
That's the thing. There are actual packs of wolves in LA. If you ever go down there and you hang out for any amount of time, you'll actually hear them. And like,
interesting.
Like, small animals, do not leave them outside.
Yeah. Oh, that's wild.
Can you hunt them?
I don't know why you couldn't. I don't think anyone would stop you.
I mean, because here you can get a license to hunt wolves. You can only do so many, but you can hunt wolves in Wisconsin
for population control and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Idaho just is trying to pass killing 90% of the ones they have. I just saw that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, that's a constant back and forth, I think, here is how many is okay to kill. But you can't hunt wolves here.
So that goes to the idea, though, like the biggest fear. So then, like, what did the dread look like for your character?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I want to say mine was probably the undead fearing death itself in a way. Because throughout this whole, like, exercise, I'm just thinking of, like, these hordes of undead minions that are kind of piling through, right? So I wonder if my community had a reverence for the dead, and it was kind of a sacred thing, and people were buried in a very specific fashion, and people coming back to life in a unnatural sort of way is kind of very frightening.
Yeah.
Which then adds another dagger for the marshal to use for when I finally get to see people from my village again, having died already.
I think for me it would be famine. Because I think that, like, come from a part of society where, like, the biggest fear is, like, any kind of austerity and having to, like, give up our lifestyle in any way. And so having to be faced with, like, nothing would be confounding and terrifying.
Oh, that's an interesting combo.
Yeah. Undead, hungry wolves.
Yep.
Done. Literal skin and bones.
Oh, I don't like that. but I love it.
It's great, but I hate it.
Oh, that's frightening. So I guess what is our mission then? Is it to just fight back the dread? Is it to save people? Is it what are we doing? What is this campaign's goal, I guess?
I think, I mean, initially fighting it back sounds right, but I think it would certainly develop into getting more answers and giving those answers away. I think the collective group feels like that could be a really big goal, is figuring out why it happened. And so like for my character, so other people aren't cut short for yours, so that they're not separated. And like just figuring it out, maybe just trying to help people not experience the same dread that we do.
That makes sense. So we're giving other people second chances, but not ourselves. Ooh. And what's one, like, because this game, from what I understand, can have some of the most epic fights because you're jumping into death effectively. What's one absolutely epic encounter that our group will encounter in this campaign? Like something big, right?
I mean, we certainly have. So in the intro, there is the one that, I mean, it's funny that the way we're describing it, like the intro plays into it really, really well. So there's the harvester who basically takes the fears of others and like helps manifest them. Like, so I talked about like my bitter dying because he jumped off the banister, because part of it is also you're coming down this banister and it's like this obsidian tower that's built in there, and you basically see these images and this smoke is on the ground, and like you literally face your fears as you're coming down the stairwell. And so like, and then it's the manifestation of those things. So I think that's that epic battle, is that like they're fully manifested, and then we're all basically re-experiencing part of our first deaths.
Oh, dang.
That sounds pretty cool. I like that. Yeah. This is a pretty sweet group.
Yep.
It really is.
Oh.
And it's only going to get sweeter because level advancement is the best thing.
Yes.
Well, that sounds like a good segue. Should we get into our advancement discussion then and take it up a level?
I think we should.
We should.
I'm so excited.
Awesome.
Take it up a level. Take it up a level.
So in this segment, we cover character advancement and character growth. How does the character level up in Phoenix Dawn Command? What changes mechanically when that happens?
They die.
Yeah. Yeah, they do.
Yeah, so you're not gaining resources that you spend. You're not gaining experience as you go. You're not, I mean, in a lot of ways, if you want to use the term milestone leveling, it's certainly that, because you died. You died to death. And then one of the most interesting things that I know I alluded to previously is that the advancement is related to the death you die and the way you feel about those deaths. Because when we describe the schools, those are the same questions you end up asking when you have that death. So even going through the idea of like, we could all certainly die in that moment too. That's the other thing, is we could go on a mission and all of us die. And then we fail, but we still come back. And so what if we all failed to those, to something similar to what our first death was? So I would likely walk away still very bitter. And so then I would have a bitter death and take that rank 2 in bitter. Now, that said, I could also have found myself in a scenario where I, for some reason, decide to try and hold back this tide while the two of you get away. Do I then take a devoted death?
Oh.
And then my advancement is related to devoted rather than bitter. Am I completely consumed by magical fire and I decide to take a rank in elemental? So just everything about what's happening in play, be it my choice or circumstantial, is going to define what that character advancement is. And then you're going to take a rank 2 trait or rank 2 lesson. So it's a permanent thing that's happening, as well as you, as advancements go on, you'll take certain rank traits as well. So then you're adding those into your deck, and the other advancement pieces that sometimes you'll be able to replace cards. So basically there's 5s as well. So we've talked about 2s, 3s, 4s, and there are 5s. So basically you could swap a 2 for a 5, permanently making your deck stronger.
Oh, wow. Oh, interesting. So, because I wasn't thinking about that before, like you level up into other schools as well. So then you're effectively multi-classing possibly.
Mm-hmm. But your first death is always the one that defines you the most, because you have those 3 core cards that can't be changed, but then you could certainly take lessons, and that's kind of why they're described that way from other schools.
Oh, that's wild. I like that. So it sounds like the advancement doesn't have an effect on the narrative. The narrative affects the advancement completely.
Yes.
A little bit of both, though, because remember, what you also then do have to talk through is what your Crucible experience is like.
That's right. The Crucible.
Because then what is your mentor doing? What are you learning? How long was it? What do you look like when you're coming back out of the Crucible after this death? Do I have that devoted death and now I come out and I'm a teenager? I'm no longer present as a child. Am I more armored because I chose devoted or durant? I felt like I wasn't strong enough. There's a different direction I could go. So then an armored teenager comes out, but obviously intrinsically we're all attached as a wing. You would know without a shadow of a doubt that it's me.
Mm-hmm.
My axe did get bigger. It's still taller than me because of course it is. But yeah, so it plays back and forth. The narrative dictates that mechanical advancement, as well as that advancement would then dictate narratively what's happening in the Crucible and who you are and how you present.
Wow. That just blew my mind.
It's such a good game. Like I want to play more of it.
Yeah, no, it sounds really fun. It's wild because it's like the advancement feels like it's the crux of play, right? Mm-hmm. It feels like that's what you're kind of ultimately working towards, in not like I leveled up and now I'm level 15 in Dungeons and Dragons. Now I get some sweet stuff, right? This is like you're working towards both success and death at the same time.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which is just amazing.
But it rewards death in a cool way that not very many games do.
Yeah.
That like there's not that same fear of player death.
Yeah. And you said you can only die 7 times, or you can only after your 7th death.
Yeah, so basically rank 7 is the highest rank. So you start out as rank 1 because you have died 1 time. Yep. You could die 7 times total, making you rank 7. And if you were to die an 8th time, your character would just go away.
Interesting. And then
you could certainly come back as another character. It could even be like a different person attached to that flame that is basically igniting you as a phoenix. And you could certainly just have a rank 1 character in the party. I mean, they're still effective. It's just, and they would be much more willing to die than your rank 7 character. Probably.
That's true. It feels like an interesting curve of like just playing to the pedals to the metal, right? Mm-hmm. At first, and then once you get to rank 6 or so, you're probably going to be a lot more cautious. Yeah,
and so some of the highest ranked phoenixes stay there at Pyre and never go anywhere because their level of power is so valuable, and then figuring out like they can do stuff. But then, yeah, like you said, they're much more conservative because they don't want to die, and then now all that power they hold is gone.
Exactly. Oh, that's interesting. Well, is there anything else that we can say about this game then before we wrap things up? It seems like we covered everything already.
Yeah, keep an eye out. See if they have a swinging deal. Definitely buy Phoenix Dawn Command.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's worth it.
Yeah, I know.
Worth it.
I know. I got mine. Black Friday last year.
Yeah, they had a great deal on Black Friday. So
it was fantastic. It took a while because the website was having issues, but I tried later that evening and it worked for myself. So I kind of lucked out there. And I think they even extended the deal because of all the website issues for a little bit. So stay tuned for that. We'll definitely have a link to where you can buy this from if you don't want to wait. But this sounds pretty fantastic. Well, Neal, thank you so much for joining us to talk about Phoenix Dawn Command. This was awesome.
Well, no, thank you. I mean, it was no trolling. It was definitely something that,
for serious, you meant it.
for serious, I totally meant it, but it was, of course, something that the logistics of it are a bit much.
Yeah.
I would also think, like, even to try and do, like, there's a deep desire in my soul to do an actual play of Phoenix, but the idea and the reality of that is tough unless everyone was physically at the same table.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It could be done, but it would be a lot of work for sure.
Yeah. I'm just really happy that after 3 years or so, we were finally able to take care of this system and learn it, and I can't be more thrilled. This was really fun.
It was, absolutely.
Yeah. Can you go ahead and remind everyone where they can find you online and the sorts of things that you're working on?
Of course, you can always find me at Joke Maniac on Twitter, Jack of all trades, master of none, IAC. And of course, if you do want to check out the 5th edition supplement to Die For, the ultimate guide to hair, you can head over to Drive-Thru RPG and check it out there.
Awesome.
Well, thank you for sitting down with us, and thank you to everyone for listening.
Call to action.
Yeah, like that.
And that wraps up our Phoenix Dawn Command series. We are really glad you could come along with us for this journey. It was a fantastic game, and I had a lot of fun learning about it. Before we pack up this series and get to those outtakes, we just have a few reminders. First up, you can pick up your own copy of Chimera, the game I've been working on with the very talented Amber Amaraz. Just head on over to play.chimera.games and check that out. It is a really fun time, and I'd love to see more folks pick it up so we can make the game even better before we get to the Kickstarter. Links to that, as well as the 2 actual play streams, are in the show notes. Also, check out Losers A Love Story on the Horror Borealis podcast feed right here on the One Shot Network. It is such a good story with some amazing themes going on, but it's also scary as heck, so pay attention to those content warnings. If you like what we're doing here or over at AHB, or what the rest of the network is doing, you can help us out by contributing to our network Patreon. Head to patreon.com/oneshotpodcast to sign up, which helps keep this podcast and many others going strong. At the $5 and up level, you'll get access to the Sacred Archive too, which is going to be getting much more enticing soon now that most of the burnout from the last year or so is starting to simmer down a bit, it feels. So absolutely check that out. Finally, another great thing you can do to help us out is leaving a rating and review anywhere you are able to do so. Every single one helps, and every one of the 5-star reviews we will read right here once Amelia and I are able to record these together. For now, we're going to be packing things up to get you off to the credits, the show blurbs, and of course the outtakes. Thanks for sticking with us, everyone. Take care, stay safe, and keep making those amazing people. We'll see you next time. Character Creation Cast is a production of the One Shot Podcast Network and can be found online at www.charactercreationcast.com. Head to the website to get more information on our hosts, this show, and even our press kit. Character Creation Cast can also be found on Twitter at CreationCast or on our Discord server at discord.charactercreationcast.com. I'm one of your hosts, Ryan Bolter, and I can be found on Twitter at Lord Neptune or online at lordneptune.com. Our other host, Amelia Antrim, can be found on Twitter at Ginger Reckoning. Music for this episode is used with a Creative Commons license or with permission from the podcast they originated from. Further information can be found within the show notes. Our main theme music is Hero Remix by Steve Combs and is used with a Creative Commons license. This podcast is owned by us under Creative Commons. This episode was edited by Ryan Bolter. Further information for the game systems used and today's guests can be found in the show notes. If you'd like to leave us a rating or review, we have links to various review platforms out there, including Apple Podcasts, in our show notes. Also, check the show notes for links to our other projects. Thanks for joining us, and remember, we find that the best part of any role-playing game is character creation. So go out there and create some amazing people. We will see you next time.
Now we gotta read some show blurbs.
Show blurbs.
Show blurbs.
Show blurbs.
Show blurbs.
Character Creation Cast is hosted by the One Shot Podcast Network. If you enjoyed our show, visit oneshotpodcast.com, where you will find other great shows like Modifier.
Modifier is an interview show hosted by Megan Dornbrock, all about why and how people change games. From the hobbyist to the professional, from house rules to publication, we all have in mind a better way to play. What's yours? Of course, my air conditioning kicks on right then, too. So I'm just going to be quiet for a second so you can have a little bit of that, too. Maybe. Oh, my God, dog. Sorry.
I was also ready for you to just say, we also still have no idea what we're doing, but we're just trying this out instead, because that's how I often
My kids aren't
feel.
even home.
I know.
Okay. I like that you are just like so confident and that like, well, it was actually, it would have been like till later. It's like Series 7.
No, Series 7. It was the Headspace series with Senda and Phil.
Clearly.
Because Senda's the one that taught us it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It makes sense because, I always hear them do a clicky in their outtakes and for Pandas Talking Games. And then we're like, oh, you just click record whenever you want and we'll line it up. And Senda was like, no, please no.
I found it incredibly stressful, but
let me teach you something. And then we did it that way and it was phenomenal. And ever since.
almost like people sync their audio somehow for some reason, because we weren't doing anything.
No.
That's the thing is like some people like clap where they do the like 1, 2, 3. Ryan didn't do anything. He was just like, everybody click and I'll figure it out later.
I lined it up with the waveforms of the backup audio.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I've done that before when you have enough tracks. The other one, I don't do much anymore because usually a lot of the guests will be on Zoom. Mm-hmm. So then Zoom will auto sync their own tracks. And then I just grab mine or whoever else is. So this may be cyclical. I'm just throwing it out there. You may get to a point on the other end where you're like, nah, this isn't worth it. Just do whatever you want, which is where I am. So
I think it depends on how many people you have too. Like I know when just Jude and I record, I don't do anything because it's like I can figure out like when he's quiet and I'm not, like these should be the opposite. But otherwise I have to do something. I don't know. Yeah.
I'm just tearing my book apart right now because it's...
Yeah, I was just flipping mine. Mine is not. Like, mine's good. It's good page turning.
Oh, yeah, look at that.
Did you get yours a while ago, or was yours part of that sale?
No, Black Friday.
That's part of that Black Friday thing.
Oh, yeah, mine too. I just, all the tops of the pages, like halfway through the book, are just all gnarly and stuck together.
I had that on one of mine as well.
Small printing snafu, it's okay.
I keep getting tagged in things on Discord, and it's really to put it on Do Not Disturb over here.
I'm permanently on Do Not Disturb in Discord because of all the bling.
It would be fine, except I'm in the Sounds Like Crows Discord. And Caleb left for the weekend and announced that he was leaving, which means that Cameron decided he was in charge and has started the Cameron games. And right now it's like this elaborate game of Mafia. And then like there's also a witch and some people are high value targets and you just tag people and then vote whether you want to murder them. I don't really understand what's happening, but I think I just got murdered while we were recording.
Perfect.
They probably
so
planned
don't leave
that.
other people in charge of your Discord servers if you go on vacation. That's what I'm saying. He like broke everyone up into teams. Like it's very intense.
You might get murdered.
Yeah.
Virtually.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which means my team lost several points because I got a text this morning that I was a high value target, apparently. So not a witch, which was a bummer.
It's fine.
Okay, we're going to take a brief interlude of a story that I have to tell because I feel like I've told it to you before.
It's very possible,
Ryan, but if not, I need to say it again. So when I was a young child, somehow I started watching Beast Wars, Transformers, and it was on UPN, and I was literally waking up. Yeah, I was waking up at 6 a.m. before the school to watch it. And then the series ended. But I was so used to waking up at that time that I just kept watching it. And because of that, I watched the entirety of the Sailor Moon series because it was the only thing on that was at that time. So I'm a very kindred spirit. And every time you bring it up, it just like unlocks this weird piece of my brain that is like, oh yeah, dude, you watched all of that. And I'm like, oh yeah, mirror. Yeah, of course it is. And I'm just like, why is that in? I always forget why it's in there because it just stays in this special little Sailor Moon place in my brain where I'm like, oh yeah, I watched that entire series like as it was coming out. Or not as it was coming out, but on air.
I was trying to explain this concept to my children recently of like Saturday morning cartoons of like you got up on a Saturday because your show was on in the morning and that's the only time that it was, and you had to like watch that particular channel on that particular time. And they were just like,
because they didn't have DVRs.
Didn't understand. You can't just watch whatever you want whenever you want. And
DVRs and streaming killed Saturday morning cartoons. I said it.
Yeah. Well,
but here's the thing is like now they can be Saturday afternoon cartoons. And I think that's like I'm jealous, honestly. I didn't have to be getting up at 7 a.m. on a Saturday.
Or 5 a.m. on a weekday.
Right.
When DVR replaced VCR, that was the death because you could tape it.
True.
If you had a friend, I guess. And if
you were willing to program your VCR and it was hooked up to the
Now, see, I am currently now halfway through the 200 episodes of the original Sailor Moon series, redubbed by Viz Media instead of Dick Media. And through Hulu, and it is beyond better than I remember.
Okay, I genuinely got uncomfortable with that sentence. Like I felt it in my heart. I was like, redub. It could go either way. Ryan, tell me more.
It's so much better to the original translation. So like all the stuff that they censored in the Dick version is now just like direct translated from the Japanese version. So like
now Ryan's gonna make me rewatch it. Okay,
it's good. It's on Hulu.
Yep, check it out. Okay, so I will jump us back in because that was entirely my fault.
I am recording.
My recording is also happening.
Yay!
Welcome to the future or the past. I don't know. Whoever's listening to this.
Well, it'll be the past by the time people listen to it. Right now, it's the present. It is currently happening, but by the time people listen to it, it is.
Technically, for each of us, it's also the past.
It is the
because it has to go over the internet a little bit.
True.
Oh, my brain hurts.
Time is meaningless.
Time is meaningless. Come on.
If there's anything we've learned in the last year.
Special relativity.
Curse you, science.
This is probably going to be the most amount of silence we've had in character creation as we as we read all of these to ourselves, because this is literally the first time I am seeing any of these cards.
Yeah.
So I have no idea what's in here.
Oh, hello. Let me down so I can cause chaos. Please.
Yeah, pretty much. No. I know, see, but I let you out because you sounded sad. But you're going to make me regret it. Because I'm going to spend the whole time saying no. And then you're going to act like it's my fault because now you have this ridiculous haircut and a ridiculous dress on. Which is like, fair enough, you have a right to cause chaos when people do that to you.
Hey, it's a puppy.
It is a puppy.
Is that a different puppy?
No, it's the same one.
What happened?
She got a haircut.
What happened?
No, because she was supposed to... Ooh. She was supposed to go to the groomer back in January. But my groomer broke her leg. And then we had to move. And, you know, then I've had my carpal tunnel and all that kind of stuff. So she finally went yesterday. Hey! But because of that, she was super matted because she's a poodle mix. So they had to like cut her hair way, way down.
She's so much less floofy.
And poor baby is like bald now.
Aw.
But her fur is not in front of her eyes. The other day when I tried to play fetch with her, she couldn't find the ball because she couldn't see anything. I felt really bad.
Aw, poor thing.
I'm going to go put her away real quick, though. I thought maybe she would behave, but I don't think she's going to. I don't know why I thought that. I don't know why I thought a 9-month-old puppy would be able to do anything, but I'll be right back. Peggy!
She looks like a completely different dog now. I almost thought it was a greyhound at first.
What was that?
I almost thought it looked like a greyhound. A little bit.
I'm going to try and face the microphone while I talk. It's a new and exciting thing I'm trying. Sorry, there's a train. I thought it was gone, but
it came back.
Or maybe it's a different train. I don't know. Okay.
And we can go ahead and stop this recording for this episode. Stop.
I am recording.
My recording is also recording.
All right.
Multiple recordings. Simultaneous podcasting. All right.
You're snooping into the microphone. Everybody can hear it. Okay.
Oh, Piggy.
Okay.
All right. I'll give us a 5 count of hopefully silence.
Hey, no, good.
And we'll get going.
Okay.
Here we go.
Of course, my air conditioning kicks on right then, too. So I'm just going to be quiet for a second so you can have a little bit of that, too. Maybe. Oh, my God, dog.
Time for some quiet. Squeak, squeak.
It's a little background noise. Oh, my God. My kids aren't even home.
I know.
Okay. It looks like all of the Kickstarters that we have been talking about are now over and fully funded with lots of amazing stretch goals unlocked for all of them. Oh my God, dog. I'm so sorry. Go on. Go on. Come here so I can pet you so that you'll be quiet. Okay.
It's fine. It's a few clicks here and there. It's fine.
She's got like 10 of them, so if I take it away, she's just going to find another one. Okay, come here. Come here. I'm so sorry. Get off. I thought you could behave. You were asleep until we started recording. Okay. My dog scrolled on my thing, too. This is just a mess today. I'm so sorry. Scrolling down. Oh, dog. I did it.
Me too.
Woo!
Yeah.
That's the good news is it's not my mousing hand.
That's good. You've had to conform to the righty propaganda.
I have. I've learned to right-handed mouse.
Yeah.
It's just my everything else hand.
Mm-hmm. Oh-de-do-de-do-de-do.
Okay. Outline.
Oh, I'm on the wrong outline. That would help. I was on the outline for next week's episode.
Oh, yeah, I gotta look up for that and see if there's stuff I want to add.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to be all prepared for this one and reread the rules and do all kinds of stuff, and then I didn't.
No, that's understandable.
I had so much stuff going.
There's a few other things going on.
Oh, my God. I scared the crap out of my children because I went to take the dog out and then came back with, like, blood everywhere.
Wounds. Yeah.
I went to go drop them off with Dan's parents today, and his mom goes, "Oh, you really did hurt yourself." And I was like, "Lady, I called you to come pick up my kids so I could take them to the emergency room. You saw me right after it happened when there was still blood on my face. Like, what did you think happened?" Like, yes, I did.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what did like, my finger was pointing the wrong way in a way that fingers don't bend.
No, we don't like that.
I know. I did not either. Let me tell you. They had to, like, give you shots with, like, the numbing stuff. And my dad was the one that took me to the emergency room. And he doesn't do well with needles. And, like, they also decided to give me a tetanus shot, too, which means I got poked 5 different times. And the whole time he was like, And I'm like, who broke their fingers here? And not you. Settle down.
Seriously.
Anyway.
All right, so I am on starting duty.
Yeah, that's what you put.
That's what I didn't intend to. I think I intended to swap it because
Usually
that's what we
switch
normally
off.
do.
Too late now?
What do you mean it's too late now?
Well, because then you have me talking, Ryan, and then Ryan. And just leave it the way it is. Let's go.
Fine. All right. Well, we'll do it.
My hand really hurts. Let's go.
Okay.
I want to take pain meds.
All right. Okay. We'll do a 5 count to silence again, and then we'll get started.
All right. Here come the fingers.
Okay. All right. We can go ahead and stop that one then. Huzzah.